You almost there?
Yeah.
Are we recording?
Yep. All right. Hey, Drew, how's it going?
I'm good, man. Good to talk to you, man.
Oh,
How
same
are you?
here. Same here. It's always great to talk to you. So big
You
old
know,
playoff weekend for the NFL, but we're back to our regular routine of getting together and sharing a video. And
yeah,
this week focusing on Atomic Habits by
yeah,
James Clear. It's a pretty awesome book that we read a while ago, and now we're going to readdress it. After we've done multiple talks about self development, self improvement, owning and designing your own life, and pretty excited about having this talk with you today.
yeah. I am too, man. And I read Atomic Habits, um, man, several years back, and I got a lot out of it. But this time, when I went back and reviewed the book and really went through and wrote down what was impacting me, why was it impacting me, how did I feel this was going to change my life, and what was in there that I wanted to share with other people, man, it had a whole new level of impact on me. And I'm excited to get into that day because there are some really good notes here that I want to kind of share with not only you, but then people that are following along with us. And I want to talk about three things in particular. Once again, I want to say this is James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. And there's another book that you sent me years ago that I felt the principles and the ideas and the concepts lined up together. And so I went through that book because we're on lockdown and I got time.
Yep.
And that is Jeff Olson's The Slight Edge. And so I just want to recommend these books to anybody that's following along with us because these are really impactful books. But let me say about Atomic Habits, man. I have three core things that I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to pull some quotes down, and hopefully we can get some good conversation going about it. But it focuses on identity, which
Yep.
I think is a core trait in building and establishing habits in your life. It's not just about what you want to establish, it's who you become. So I want to talk about identity. I want to talk about systems. And then I want to talk about reflection. So that's my trinity there for Atomic Habits: identity, systems, and reflection. And this process together, and I feel James Clear is really good at giving us tools to do that. So I'll pitch it back to you for now before I get into
Yeah, I
that.
really like that. I think it's gonna be interesting to talk today because I agree with you. And one of the great quotes that I pulled out, from his book is, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your
Well, to the
systems,
level of
right?
your systems.
Yep.
Yeah, I have
So,
that. I have that written down.
and through my life, I've, goal this, goal that, I want to lose this weight or whatever, and so what this book, reminded me of doing, and it was awesome going back and rereading it too, because I read it years ago. I mean, this is one of the first books, we read together, but it made me, okay, you need to really go back, focus on on your beingness. What identity do
Yeah,
you want to be? Then build
yeah,
systems in your life that support that. And then over
yeah,
time, the outcomes are going to come. You're going to be, if you want to be that reader, you're going to start cranking out books on a more regular basis. If you want to be a
yeah,
writer, you will start writing those articles and letters, etc. If you want to be that, that connected, strategic leader of learners, well, then what do you have to, what is your beingness to truly be that? And that's what you got to
yeah,
put in your daily life.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
anyways, that resonated with me pretty hard, and it re-energized me to focus on my identity and to reframe that. I did a journal entry this morning doing that, so.
Yeah, no, that's really good, man. I have a quote down here that says, behavior that is incongruent with the self will not last.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to establish a new habit, but you haven't made it a part of who you are, that thing is going to be short lived. And I see that so much in our own world. I've seen it in my own life that I've tried to whether my goals of becoming fluent in Spanish or the many things that I've tried to achieve along the years, and all of us getting out of prison. Whether you stumble out of the gate or you catch your balance, it really comes down to not just the habits you have, but the core principles of who you are.
Yep.
Because if at the end of the day, even if your habits fail you, if that habit is in alignment with who you are, you're going to get back up and you're going to keep going. But if the practice, it's why people fall off on their diets, or like we're into a new year, like a New Year diet. They have a goal of a diet, but it's not really an identity focus, a part of who they are. They don't see themselves. A guy said the other day, he says, you can't be the person that just doesn't want to eat cookies. You have to be the person that, I'm just trying not to be. I was saying even about Christianity, is that people that have a faith, whatever faith that may be, I don't say my goal is I'm trying to be a Christian today. We focus on I am this. And as you are something, you naturally walk in it more, even through all the stumbling and even through all the failures that may come along the way. And so behavior that is incongruent with the self will not last. I have another one. The most effective way to change your habits is not to focus on what you want to achieve, but who you wish to become.
Yeah.
And so that kind of needs to be not just a goal, but who you are at when you reach that. That needs to be kind of the picture in your mind as you're driving towards something.
Yep.
Identity.
Yeah, and you just gotta, keep on repeating it. So then, one of the things that then resonated with me is, okay, well, and he talked about frequency. He said, if you want to start building a habit, the most important thing is whittle it down to the smallest, make it really super easy to do, even if it's only for 2 minutes on a day-to-day basis. So then you just start repeating it and it becomes part of your life, like brushing your teeth before you go to bed, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can worry about optimizing it and making it putting rigor into that habit or making it longer and having more focused energy, but first just start doing it on a regular basis. And so when you were talking there, then the light went on in my head. It's like, ding, okay, that means I need to think about my identity on a daily basis, right? Because how am I going to forge myself into something I want to be unless I keep going back and validating that identity and re-bluing that, and then using that as my my target and my hey, that's what I'm going to shoot for, and every day look at that, right, and then craft each day based on that, focusing on that identity, building those systems, and to me being a manager inside of Honeywell, that I'm always building a daily to-do list, that I'm trying to knock out every day, and what I need to do is make sure my identity's in there, make sure a system's focus is in the to-do list so that I keep on building the scaffolding higher and higher and higher, especially with the folks that I'm managing and their operating systems. And then our level of excellence then goes that much higher. So I thought that was pretty good.
Have you heard of lean manufacturing?
Oh, yeah.
Lean manufacturing deals with systems, taking a product and moving it through in the most efficient manner towards the end goal. He said, I've begun to realize that my results had very little to do with the goals I set and nearly everything to do with the systems I followed. And you brought up an important thing, the 4 laws of behavior change.
Yep.
Which he says is make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. And, I live in a 6x9 cell. And you continue to send me books throughout the year. And it stacks up fast. I mean, I'm constantly trying to declutter and string down, because the more organized my small little living space is, the more efficient I am.
Yep.
And, I've had this thought. I wanted to be fluent in Spanish since my dad was speaking Spanish to me when I was really young. And I've always had that goal, but I've always had inefficient systems to accomplish that goal.
Yeah.
And and I have all these great workbooks for Spanish. I have all the everything I need. But you know what? It kept getting buried. I wasn't looking at it, and so and I know it seems trivial, but like to get it, I had to like move a bunch of stuff, and just that small inconvenience, just that small step, prevented me from really solidifying the habit of okay, every day I'm knocking out 30 minutes.
Yep.
I'm going over vocabulary, 30 minutes. Okay, 45 minutes. Okay, an hour. And dude, I had to really declutter and kind of going on this COVID. Now we got a tuberculosis outbreak. It's crazy in here. It's a world.
Oh, wow.
With viruses and stuff. But the blessing was it gave me time to sit and focus on my area and focus on what did I need to get out of the way.
Yep.
So I could really prioritize the things that I want to see come to fruition in my life. And so when I took those Spanish books, I cleared out a lot of clutter, boxed some things up, got ready to mail some things home, and put my books where I could see it every day.
Yep.
Man, it made following that habit so much more easier. So whether that's like laying out your vitamins in the morning or whatever it is, whatever thing you're trying to institute, you have to make it easy, obvious, and accessible.
Yep.
And it can't be buried.
Yep. Yeah, you got to get rid of the barriers, right? Remove those barriers and streamline your life. Yeah, lean manufacturing talks about, having everything sorted and clean and, all this stuff so that you just make everything more efficient. Everybody had checklists and all that stuff. Yeah, I like it. I call it the sort of like a matrix, right? Whereas, I don't know if we can see this. We'll see if we put it on there. Hey, there. Yeah, I'm putting this on the screen, right? So, and what it is
okay.
You got the first law is Q. Yeah, Q. Well, no, I think you got to focus on the Q, the craving, the response, and the reward. Yeah, it's make it obvious, but you got to also think about the other side of the coin. You got to make some things invisible. So instead of just obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying, you got to think about, okay, what cues are out there? Is it a cue for a bad behavior, or is it a cue for a good behavior? We got, habits. We got those all over the place.
Yeah.
But you got to analyze them for both. Yeah, good and bad, right? You got to either obvious or invisible. So if you don't want to read that certain magazine, well then get rid of it out of your cell, or have it buried in the corner or whatever, or here in our.
Or if you're trying to work out, put your workout shoes right where you're gonna, right where your feet are gonna hit the ground.
Yep.
He said this. He said practice environment design. Kind of what I was talking about with my Excel was I needed better environment design to make myself more efficient to who I want to become.
Yep.
And the same is true when you're trying to get into shape. What's it? Jeff Olson here in the Slight Edge. He said time will either expose you or promote you.
Yeah.
And it's only by being immersed in the process that we come to know the road. You got to get immersed in the thing. And for that, you need the element, which is my third element, which is reflection. And it says, without reflection, we can make excuses, create rationalizations, and lie to ourselves.
Yeah.
And so it's important to have that stop and reflect. And that's where you begin to see your environment design. That's where you begin to start to work on that element a little bit more. You have to stop and reflect and go, this is who I want to become. These are the things I want to achieve in my life. But these are where my environment and my habits are taking me.
Yep.
Now I need to course correct.
Yeah, and see what the difference is.
Course
and that's
correction is key.
Yeah, and then to circle back, that's why on a daily basis you got to look at what are the identities that you are aspiring to achieve, and then frame that against, okay, what am I doing, and why is there a difference between the two? Why am I drinking wine on the weekends, versus going to bed early and working out in the morning or whatever,
Right.
Yeah, so I think that reflection is vastly important. And then I thought near the end of the book, so I agree with you. I had, hey, focus on the system, not on the goals, the importance of compounding interest, like even in it's almost like atomic habits, right? Like atoms are the small pieces that make up the whole. Well, atomic habits are the small pieces that make up your beingness.
Yeah.
right? And the key thing is the law of compounding interest. What you do on a regular basis will build up over time and compound on top of itself until, and I like the concept he had, sometimes you'll do a lot of work and you're like, why am I not improving? Why am I not losing weight? Well, there is this latent potential that you're building up, and suddenly you're going to cross that threshold. When an ice cube finally starts to melt after a bunch of energy and heat has been put into it, you will bust through that plateau, and then that's
Yeah.
when you grow. And so I think that's a really important concept. But near the end chapter, though, they said that you really need to know yourself and recognize your strengths and identify, what things are fun for you, what makes you lose track of
Yeah.
time, what do you get greater returns by doing than
Yeah.
others, and what comes naturally. If you and also look at your 5 personality traits and how what is your natural beingness through your genes and whatnot. And if you can recognize that and then shape your habits, build using that as a foundation, that's when you're going to be like, limitless in your potential.
Well,
So,
this kind of ties into Viktor Frankl's "You have to know your why." He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how.
yep,
And an important thing, and when you're trying to recreate yourself, because that's an important thing. And even after me having done 22 years in prison and getting out in the next couple of years, knowing that I'm going to go from who I've been in here for a majority of my life to not totally reinventing myself, but reestablishing myself in the world out there. That he says this: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call fate.
yep,
And that's where the process of really getting down to what is driving me. Something's either driving me towards success, or something's driving me towards a lack of it. And just kind of you got to really own it. What are the core values that drive my life? These are core questions as you're trying to reestablish habits in your life. And Eric Brighton said this. He said, "Your life flies in the direction of your habits." And I love how he related that to when he was in sniper school and he was learning how to shoot. He was talking about your natural point of aim.
yep,
And that
yep,
and that something inside of me. There's a sight line focus, and we engage with the world through our experiences. So when you have negative experiences, these things are getting rooted in the and it's beginning to direct your life. It's no different than when you have a car. Have you ever driven a vehicle and the alignment slides
yeah,
off?
yeah, yeah,
And what happens? Is the steering wheel vibrates, and and if you let your hands go, it'll naturally try to take you over to another lane, and then you have to, through sheer will, you have to grab that wheel and you have to constantly course correct that car.
yep,
What you need to do is you need to get in the shop and have that alignment readjusted. And that's a big thing for me. And I find that in the Word of God. I find that in really good fellowship. I find that in reading these and studying these books with you, that it's resetting my alignment. And once I have my alignment reset, right, now I can really look at the directions of where I want to go.
yep,
If that alignment's off, that's constantly fighting against me
yep.
on my journey.
Well,
I hope that makes
yeah. Well, oh, it totally does. So in these laws and principles apply to us as individuals trying to, maximize our potential, in our lives and with the people around us. But it also applies organizationally, because a lot of the same principles and whatnot I've done in the Army when you're like doing mission planning and you're trying to establish, train a unit to be able to function at a really high level. You look at, hey, what do we do on a regular basis? What are our habits? What are our systems that help us,
Yeah.
that we establish, and it becomes just routine that enables overwhelming success. And and so it's that culture that you try to foster. And we do the same thing in Honeywell. We focus on behaviors, and the essence of beingness of what you want to be. And then we build systems around that where people are constantly learning and
Yeah.
adapting and problem
Yeah.
solving. And because we build and we do set goals and have metrics, but we have a lot of our energy is focused on behaviors and identity and trying to have that beingness of these like eight, you know, high caliber behaviors, that you
Yeah.
try to exhibit on a daily basis. And so, that really does make a difference. So it's
And
pretty
you
neat.
can't also you have to remember there has to be this practical understanding of a universal principle of seed time and harvest.
Yeah.
And this is where we a lot of times fail, stumble, and then end up quitting. Is that we want to go from seed to harvest, and we want to get away from the element of time.
Well, yeah, and we want
You
instant
know,
gratification, and you can't do that, right? So I think
yeah,
this is
you
a
don't get popcorn change. Popcorn is 2 minutes in the microwave.
yep,
That's not really how you get lasting change in your life. And you could pop a bag of popcorn in the microwave in 2 minutes, but that doesn't really nourish you and satisfy you over a long period of time. That nourishing meal that feeds you and gives you all the proteins that you need is normally cooked over a longer period of time. So it is with things in our life, and I have to remember that I could plant the seed, but you got to water it through deliberate practice and habits,
yep,
and give it time. And then he says this. He said reward is on the other side of sacrifice.
yeah,
And if you really want something good in your life, you have to ask yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice in order to? We pay for everything in time,
yep,
and I tell you that because I'm doing time.
yeah.
I'm paying for my mistakes in time, and you pay for everything in time. Your relationship, you pay for in time. Everything is it's a universal principle. It's a non-renewable commodity.
Well,
And
yeah, yep. Time, energy, and focus. Those are sort of some of the things at your disposal, right? Uh,
speaking of time,
yeah. And so, hey, I
we
think
are out of it.
so. What this is a book that's definitely one of the core books, that you and I
Yes,
resonate with. Atomic
yes,
Habits. It represents the H in our SHEARS acronym, right? Skills,
yeah,
habits, energy,
yeah,
attitude, relationships, and
yeah.
service. And
Service, yeah.
so it's definitely a
Amen.
cornerstone.
All right,
Habits.
buddy.
Habits is where it
That's it,
begins.
man.
I love you.
All right, man. Good talking to you, man.
Take care, my friend.
Yeah.